It's time for Agriculture, presented by Turkana Farms in Germantown, New York, a small-scale producer of heritage breed livestock and a wide array of vegetables and berries on just over 39 acres. They also produce a full array of garden vegetables, many of them heirloom varieties raised naturally, as well as an assortment of berries, including raspberries, blackberries, gooseberries, black, red, and white currants, mulberries, and elderberries. And now, here's Mark Scherzer.
Harry, the son of my late partner Peter, arrived to our delight Thanksgiving morning. We hadn't much warning that he'd be in New York. He flew in to do a job installing whatever it is he installs in buildings. But once we learned he'd be in the vicinity, we made sure he would get to the farm for the ritual turkey meal, because after all, he's an important part of my family. After about an hour here, Harry remarked at the pop music with French lyrics playing in the kitchen, which he found refreshing. "This is great. The only things you ever played before were NPR and all Dad's Turkish folk music." Slightly exaggerated, but fundamentally true. My new life with Eric very much comes with its own soundtrack, one I've come to love. It very much has been a changing of the channel. And changing of a channel is not just a figure of speech in this case. Among the dominant sounds in the house these days is the programming of Ici Musique, the Montreal-based public radio station that Eric streams as a way of keeping in touch with his home culture. Although it plays plenty of popular music, the station treats all of its content as art, worthy of respect. Some programs are curated by guest artists or are organized to commemorate artists or eras or themes. They incorporate background commentary about the artist's life events or earlier artists that influenced the work. It gives me insight into the seriousness with which the Québécois treat their culture. And at the same time, it improves my French vocabulary and listening skills. It's particularly easy for me to listen to, since I can turn to Eric, as I probably do a dozen times a day, to get the lowdown on a word I just don't really understand. Last Saturday night, we saw the Montreal singer-songwriter Coeur de Pirate in New York City. On the drive back up Sunday morning, we heard an interview on Ici Musique in which someone kept using the word I heard as plat. Turns out it's spelled plate, but pronounced plat. "Do they mean just flat?" I asked Eric, like calm or flat seas. He said the sense would be more like, no, not flat or calm, but boring or uninteresting. "C'est plat" would be a bad review for a play or a party. He said the French would almost never use such an expression, that it's just a very Québécois usage. As with all additions to one's vocabulary, it is best absorbed if it can be applied immediately to life repeatedly. And as it turned out, plot was definitely my vocabulary word of the week. That evening, we both came down with chills. And while we both seemed to recover somewhat by the following morning, late Monday I was seized with more intense chill, alternating with sweats, low-grade fevers, and debilitating headaches and joint pain that confined me to bed for most of the rest of the week. A negative COVID test brought me no comfort. I was reminded for the first time in a long time of what it is to feel really sick, to lack desire or appetite, and not to be able to imagine having it ever again. To have one's greatest desire be comfort, and yet to derive little from being comforted. To feel that everything you say is off base or unable to connect with reality. To only want to crawl under a rock. I was relatively immobile and inactive, with Eric blessedly taking on himself the entire burden of buying feed for the animals, doing chores, cooking and cleaning for us. But there was nothing zen or calm about my flatness. The boredom, the feeling tired of the absence of interest was almost excruciating. If someone were to ask how I feel, I thought plat would be an appropriate term. This morning, I awoke feeling largely recovered. It was the first time this week I had a sense of energy. It was the first time I was able to do the chores as they should be done, not get by with the minimum tasks necessary to avert disaster. I was able to feel the sun's rays as a source of energy, and to see the calm joy of the animals as they, too, absorbed those rays. Theirs was a quiet pleasure, in which I felt I was sharing. It was calm, but not platt. Vocabulary lesson learned.
Agriculture is underwritten by Turkana Farms, LLC, a small-scale producer of heritage-bred livestock and a wide array of vegetables and berries on just over 39 acres in Germantown, New York. More information, 518-537-3815.